There is nothing wrong with your television set. Do not attempt to adjust the picture. We are controlling transmission.
But all right, here we are. It's a fresh coat. It's a new year. It's 2023, episode 94.
Creeping up on that 100 mark pretty soon.
I'm telling you, I hope you got a big raise this year because that show 100 is gonna kill you.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna rack up that credit card bill real quick.
Real quick. Well, the best part is we'll go ahead and start working on it so you get those airline points, those miles. Yeah. You're going on a honeymoon. It's going to be great.
Yep, you got it.
Fantastic. All right, so what's this show about?
Fresh coat. So obviously it's new year, 2023.
Yep.
We had this one scheduled for last month, but we did a little rerun of a previous show, right? So now, 2023, we got the fresh coat. So we're going to be talking about finish, how to apply finish, the equipment involved. So we got our brand new G2. So for you ladies and gentlemen that are at home that have the new CRB Pro G2, hopefully you're loving it. We're going to show you how to utilize that a little bit better when it comes to finish. Obviously, we're going to show some other equipment like the clutch with the RDS dryer.
That's a personal favorite of mine.
Oh, absolutely. We'll show you'll show us how you like to utilize that. We got our epoxy mixer. And of course, we're going to be talking about the accessories and even the finish itself, high build, light build, what brushes to use, and some, contamination, which is a huge issue when applying finish.
Yeah.
Some do's and don'ts when it comes to contamination. So.
Yeah, and there's a couple little items that you might not think would cause a problem. We'll go over those on the show, and I think we'll touch on some of the why you would use one finish over another. I know some of you at home are probably like, oh, I use this finish, I only use this finish, and nothing else. I'm not like that. I'll go from Pro Coat to Threadmaster, high build, light build. It all depends on what I'm building, and we're going to talk about that on the show tonight. So, we all know that you come for the demos, but we really know that you stay for the giveaways. So, we're going to be giving away a 4-rod dryer system. That's a good one. That's for y'all that got plenty of room in the house, hanging on the wall. It gets the rods that you are drying out of your way. There's a less chance of you bumping into it, you knocking it over. Little Fluffy jumps up on the counter. The cat gets curious and gets all in the finish. That's no good. Second, tonight we're doing a ProProducts basic workshop supply kit and a DCRDS Gen 2, which we've got on standby tonight. Yep. We'll show you a cool little feature about that guy. And the grand prize tonight, we're giving away an MHX HD rod rack. That thing is the real deal. It can withstand the elements. Mm-hmm. It's got stainless steel hardware in it. The material that it's made out of. Everybody that is in the marine industry, will recognize the material it's made out of, but it's virtually indestructible. Mm-hmm. It has I want to say a lot of weight to it, but it's sturdy. I don't want to say it's too heavy, but you can literally, it holds what, 20 rods, I think, guys?
20 rods, yeah.
Holds 20, holds 4 bent butts. Mm-hmm. We've seen pictures of customers sending it in with giant offshore gear, rods all over this thing, and I'm telling you, it can hang. Yeah. You got tens of thousands of dollars in equipment. Why not put it in a rack that can handle it? So Santa's bringing one over right here. I'm going to show it to you if you haven't seen it.
Yeah, show it off real quick.
Give me this thing. Cool. All right. So there it is. Put together. That's it. Got your bent butts on it. Real deal. 20 rods.
Yep. And even if you're not a saltwater guy or girl, you know, you don't have to only put bent butt rods in this rod holder. You know, it's got, you know, plenty of space for just normal freshwater rods, fly rods, you know, you name it. It can still hold any type of rods.
Absolutely. All right. There's something that we've never done at Mudhole, and that is an advanced technique seminar. Uncle Bob's been talking about it for years. We actually had the man, Billy Vavona, in here this week. He was making a trip down here to the Sunshine State. And the advanced technique seminar is going to be, it's like rod building's Top Gun. Okay, so it's going to be the best of the best. They're going to come here to Mudhole, downstairs at the Education Center, March 31st through April 2nd. It's a $40 fee, and I'm going to be honest with you, you'll never get more out of $40 than that $40 right there. I don't care if you're in Vegas. I don't care where you're at. You ain't going to get no more out of $40 than you will at that advanced technique seminar. That's all I'm going to say about it. It's that good. So it's on the website, I believe, right?
Yes, correct.
Yep. It's on the website. Jake's talked about it. It's great. So March 31st, April 2nd, here at Mudhole. Of course, we always have rod building classes. We've got in-person. We've got a beginner class in February. We've got specialty classes coming this year as well. We got bass, inshore fly, surf, and then, of course, the remote rod classes. That's huge. Everybody's been taking advantage of that for a couple years now. So it's a big hit. You can find all of that on the website, but mudhole.com/classes. That's where you can find it. All right, photo contest. If you're a member of the Rod Building Workshop on Facebook, you'll see it. Uncle Phil, you got me a cutaway for that one there. So we're going to celebrate the top 3. As everyone that's been involved in this knows, it's your turn to vote. So we've got the 3 finalists up there. Let's go ahead and run that. You need to vote by January 1st. I'm sorry, January 31st. Sorry, vote by January 31st. Winners will be announced, and they get Mudhole gift cards. All right.
We're back.
Congratulations, everybody that entered. Thank you very much for that. And, of course, congratulations to the top 3. All right. Let's get to it.
Let's do it.
Finish application. We're going to be talking about using the RBS Pro G2 Power Wrapper. Why don't you give us a little rundown on some of the features of it that not only you can use while wrapping, but, of course, while finishing, drying, and then we'll show it.
Cool. Yeah, so for you guys at home that do not have this unit yet, this is our, thank you. This is our CRB Pro. This is the RBS Pro G2. So second generation of our RBS Pro wrapping unit. Couple key features that we've integrated with this unit that were different from the last one. For one, right off the bat, this has a dryer motor included. So not only can you use the wrapping motor, but you also have a toggle switch to switch over to drying mode, which we have our drying motor here. We have a separate pulley for it, so all you have to do is on the back here, switch from our pulley for the wrapping motor over to the drying motor. It's just that easy. Now, that will let you click over to drying mode, and as you can see, our chuck starts turning there. What's also great is you can hold this chuck and it will reverse directions, which is great depending on how you like to apply finish. Some people like the rod to spin towards you. Some like it to be away from you. So cool feature there is you got the drying motor incorporated into this power wrapping unit, and it also spins both directions. Aside from that, we beefed this thing up. It has a higher RPM than our previous unit. It's got an index chuck. We have this awesome control box here. So essentially you can set your speed with the control knob, which would be basically your max speed, and then you use your foot pedal to feather the speed from there. Now, for you guys that have purchased the unit, we went through a little process with the foot pedal. The original one we sent out wasn't highly regarded. We'll just leave it at that. So what we have done is send out a replacement foot pedal with a longer cord to kind of alleviate some issues that we were having with the foot pedal. So hopefully by now most of you that have purchased this unit.
There you go, right there, Bradley Mitchell. Got a new foot pedal today for my G2 wrapper. Really nice, y'all.
Awesome.
Thank you. Yep,
so for y'all that purchased this unit back in December, we had the little issue with the foot pedal, but we resolved it by sending out a brand new foot pedal that has a longer cord. It also lets you have variable speed control. Thank you. Over this unit. So again, you set your speed at the control box, which would be your max speed. Then you can use the foot pedal to kind of dial in the speed that you need, either while you're wrapping or also while you're finishing.
I think there's enough on here. You could probably put the foot pedal in the bathroom.
You can wrap it around your house.
That's it. Cool.
Yep.
All right.
So that's kind of a little overview of the G2 in itself. Now, for you guys that have not been able to purchase this yet, we do have another shipment arriving around the end of February, maybe early March. So, go on the website, go to the product page for the G2, hit the button that says email when available, and that'll get you on the list to be one of the first ones notified when we have these back in stock. So anyway, I say all that to get to the actual part of the show where we give you some tips and tricks on the finished portion.
Start using this thing.
Yeah.
All right.
So we got our finish mixed up here. Do we want to dive into a little bit of about epoxy? Or we want to save that for a little bit later?
Let's go ahead and do that right now.
Okay. We talked about this every finish show, but we'll do a quick little dive.
We're going to do it because there's some newbies in here.
Yeah.
I've been seeing you.
So real quick, light build, high build. That's going to be kind of your, obviously there's different brands of epoxy. Up here on the table, we've got some Threadmaster, which it's been out of stock for quite a while. We're just now getting it back into stock. That goes for the high build and the light build. So stay tuned over the next week to 10 days as the remaining inventory of that Threadmaster does get put into stock. So Threadmaster, a very popular brand for epoxy. We have our ProCoat high build. Another popular brand of rod finish. A lot of guys here love ProCoat. It dries very clear. It doesn't yellow too much over time. It stands up to the elements. And then what'd you dig up? Some Gen 4.
Some Gen 4.
Also extremely popular over the past couple years. Gen 4, unfortunately, right now is having a little bit of a shortage with epoxy. We're getting stock in over the next couple of weeks, so I know we're out of stock across the board right now for Gen 4, but stay tuned. That's getting back into stock pretty soon here. What else you got? More Threadmaster?
Threadmaster light build. So since they all know the players in the game, we'll talk a little bit about when we talk about high build and when we talk about light build. So high build is going to be a finish that will, when you're mixing it, it's going to feel thicker. It's going to feel heavier. It's going to allow you to put more finish on in one coat. Keep in mind, any of the finishes that are high build are going to have a shorter pot life and cure faster. So when we talk about pot life, we're talking about how long you have to work with that before it's no longer usable and it cures out, okay? So high build rod finish, I like it for offshore builds. I like it for marbling. Like it for some other decorative stuff. If you're going over the top of maybe a tiger wrap, because a tiger wrap is something, which actually it's going to be the next show. A tiger wrap is going to be something where you want to actually have more epoxy because you're going to be adding depth to that thread work. So high build is there. Whereas maybe if you have an ultralight blank or you have a fly rod, I'm going to use the light build because I might do a couple ultra thin coats, or I might just do one light coat of light build. I'm somebody that I do really well with one coat. Some people prefer to do 2 coats. It all depends on what you practice, how you get good at it. I will say you have a much greater chance of having a successful finish experience if you do 2 lighter coats, okay? I've seen more boo-boos created because too much finish was applied one time, and it kind of goes haywire. We're going to talk about some of that tonight, but there's a number of questions that were coming in talking about light build, high build, Pro Coat regular. We all consider a medium build, okay? So, which I like it because it's a little in between. You know, it's not as light as Threadmaster Light, and it's not as heavy as the Pro Coat high build, because the Pro Coat high build is high. Yeah. I'm talking high. So if you want something to like cure out a little quicker, if you want it to be thicker, the Pro Coat high build is the one for you. Yep. For sure. Last but not least, this is something that is way on the other side of the room, and it's called Permagloss. Permagloss is a very unique product because it is a air and humidity cured one part. All right? This is not the finish to use in a closed-in basement with no ventilation, or, you know, in your man cave or your she shed with the windows closed. This is not the one to do that. This is great if you need to put multiple ultra-thin coats. This is water in here. It's not water, but it's like water. You open it up and you smell it, it's clearly not water. And also, don't do that. We'll have to run a little ticker at the bottom. But this stuff is really, really good for certain applications. It is a one-part urethane rod finish. A tip for this, store it upside down. The reason is, if you're opening and closing this, you're allowing air and humidity into it. And here in the state of Florida, I don't think I've ever seen the humidity under 80%, maybe, even on Christmas, which is the way I like it. But anyway, it will cure this in the bottle with a skin on it. So then you've got perfectly good permagloss, like in 3/4 of the bottom of this bottle, and yet you've got a cured skin of urethane on the top, and you can't get to it. So keep it upside down like this, and it'll keep that from happening. Honestly, the best way to do this is in your workshop, maybe take a 2x4, drill a hole in it that matches the diameter of this guy here, the bottle, stand it up there, because this is glass, and if you drop it and you break it, you better have an extra supply of oxygen somewhere, because it's going to flush you out. Anyway, so that's Permagloss. It's cool. It's good. I like it, you know, for certain things. It's also great for like a thread sealer. I also like it if, you know, you want to apply it and it fills all the gaps. If you've got like spinning rod guides that have a real high foot ridge on them and there's gaps in there and you don't want to create air voids under your finish, you can put that and go finish right on top of that. So I think it does a little bit better job than Color Preserver. Cool. Yeah. I don't get along with Color Preserver. Yeah, all right.
I'm a big fan. Let's talk real quick about mixing and what you need.
Yes.
And as we said, we've done this finish show. We do it every year. This is probably our 4th, 5th episode, maybe. In 4th. Okay, I got corrected there. 4th.
Coming in from the back.
4.0. In past episodes, we've gone into much greater detail about what to use and this and that. I'll just recap real quick. So when you're mixing epoxy, we always opt for these plastic disposable mixing cups. Make sure you're measuring with syringes. Highly, highly recommended. Measure with syringes. Always do at least 2 to 3 cc's of each part. That's very important. You know, the smaller amounts that you try to mix, the more room for, the more margin for error that you're going to encounter. And be very precise with these measurements. Make sure you're right on the dot if you're measuring 2 cc's.
Can I stop you right there?
Sure.
Real quick. Ken Blanchard Jr., can you flame the U40 to get rid of bubbles, or will it ignite? Ken, I know I'm giggling. Do not.
Don't do it.
Do not do that. It actually says on the back of the bottle, caution. The vapors are harmful. We've already discussed that. 2, flammable.
Yeah.
And it's in like, it's a little bottle, but it's 72 font on the back. So Ken, great question. Don't do it.
Yep.
Read the bottle on that one there. All right, keep going. That I felt like was very important, but I needed to stop you for that one.
I don't want Ken to blow up his workshop.
No,
we don't need that.
Ken's been here a long time. We can't afford to lose you, Ken. Can't afford to lose you.
So mixing cup, 2 to 3 cc's of each part, side A and B, unless you're using on one part. Obviously, that's different. Once you've got that, take a little mixing stick. These are the BSS 100s, I believe, the little plastic mixing sticks. So what you want to do is, I'm not going to do it with this one because we have one already in our epoxy mixer mixing up. But make sure you mix this very slowly. Go around the edges, fold it over, incorporate it nicely, and do that for at least 3 to 5 minutes. Do not mix this for a minute and call it good, because trust me, it is not. You have to make sure this epoxy, both sides are incorporated very, very well. So if you are want to take a shortcut, again, the epoxy mixer is so easy. People take for granted epoxy mixers. They think it's not worth the money, blah, 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 blah. If you guys caught earlier when Chris was talking, I took one of our cups here, I dropped it in the mixing, or the cup for the epoxy mixer, put our metal rod in there, and it's been mixing for probably at least close to 5 minutes now, and I didn't have to touch it whatsoever. So anyway, either mix it by hand for 3 to 5 minutes or throw it in the epoxy mixer for the same amount of time. Once you got that done, we're going to take one of our foil dishes. So we have these 3-inch or 4-inch. And what you can do is, once your epoxy is mixed up, you're going to take your epoxy from the little mixing cup and then pour it into the mixing dish. And what that will do is it will actually, you can see the surface area for this mixing dish is much, sorry guys, is much wider than your mixing cup. Once that epoxy kind of fills the bottom of this mixing dish, what that's going to do is actually allow most of the air bubbles to dissipate. So that's going to do a lot of the work for you. You don't have to worry about any air bubbles. Now, there might be 1 or 2 that you got to contend with, but this is going to alleviate most of those issues you have with air bubbles.
Yeah.
It will also, you know, once you put it in your mixing dish, that's going to kind of start the process of that epoxy, and that pot life is going to kind of start at that, you know, close to that moment.
Yeah.
That's when you need to kick it into gear and start applying.
Yeah. The good part is another pro about the dish is, because I'm a dish guy. Because it spreads it out over a larger surface area and it's not keeping your finish in a little small shot glass, it actually
extends that time.
Extends the time a little bit, because the heat isn't generated into the epoxy. It's almost like because it's spread out, it pulls the heat away from it a little bit. You know, it's not like, it doesn't triple the working time or anything like that, but it does help.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, you can actually, when you pour your finish in there, you can just like kind of do a little hot breath on it. Depending on what octane your drink is, it'll help pop them bubbles a little quicker too.
Yep.
So,
and last but not least, you're gonna need a brush. So whether you do our 1/8 inch purple disposable brushes, our 1/4 inch disposable brushes,
yep,
our sable brushes, you know, the list goes on. We have little, you know, 1/2 inch bristle brushes. You know, pick your poison or your preference on what you want to use. Disposable brushes are, you know, by and large, the most popular. And again, look back at a couple of the episodes, because you've shown time and time again, take these disposable brushes, make sure, you're just going to show us, okay?
Well, I'm going to show you because I'm getting ready to use it. You probably ought to start mixing that epoxy there, right?
I got one in the...
oh, do you? You got one in the hopper?
Yeah.
The hopper? I take a 1/4 inch brush, right?
Correct.
Take a 1/4 inch brush, take a razor blade. Or if you have those Westcott titanium scissors that are really, really, really nice and sharp. Those are the only ones that I've found that are like super sharp. Or if we're all fishermen and women here, take you some braid scissors, and I'm going to take it and I'm going to cut about a quarter. Come on down. Don't be afraid. There you go. Thanks, Coleman. I'm going to take it, I'm going to cut about a quarter off. Again, this is one of those times not to do it on Grandma's vintage dining room table. But you can see there, now we got a nice kind of sharp end. We just took them and pinned them to the table and cut it. What that does for me is that just allows the, it kind of changes the power and action on the brush, if you know what I mean. It's one of those, I can press a little bit harder down on the bristles and the brush does not kind of splay out quite as much. And if it does splay out a little too much, it might push the finish over the edge of a thread wrap or get it out over the end of a ferrule where I don't want it. So if I cut a little bit off of it, make a flat edge, then I can add a little heat pressure, I should say. I can add a little pressure to those bristles and they won't go all haywire. We should be good to go. All right. Cool. Let's see. Anybody else? Should we give something away? You want to give something away and then we'll have to, because we got to do Faulkner's cameo too, right? All right. Let's go ahead and give something away. We've been here for about a half hour and let's give something away. We're going to do the 4 rod dryer system. It's the one that hangs on the wall, right?
Yep. That's the vertical version.
Yeah, the vertical. We don't have one in here, I don't think. No. Mom wouldn't let us drill into the wall, so we can't hang it in here. All right. Tonight's first giveaway is a 4 rod dryer system. You want to go ahead and fire that thing up there, Uncle Phil, and see who we got? Remember, if Mudhole wins, we're going to add a gift card to it. And the same thing if Sean Chaney wins. We make him pay for a gift card. So, nah, just kidding. Sean's working hard tonight, as he always does. Y'all see him in there. He and I agree on most stuff. Bill Tucker. Nice. And that is coming out of YouTube. You know, I actually saw a question earlier. Somebody said, can you win if you are in YouTube? And
there you go.
Old Bill Tucker did.
Boom.
Congratulations, Bill. Live@mudhole.com is the email address. Did we put that on the ticker there, Uncle Phil? So to get in contact with us, if you want to say how great Hunter's doing and you want to say how bad I'm doing on the show, send an email, live@mudhole.com. That's also how we get in touch, or you get in touch with us to claim these prizes. So, Bill, if you can, shoot us an email to live@mudhole.com. We'll get that. We'll have a little chat about where you want me to send it, and we'll be good to go. So, cool. All right, let's get to, we're going to use this piece of equipment here. Now, one thing we haven't shown tonight.
The tool rest.
The hand and tool rest. This thing's pretty sweet. I might have had about 10 seconds of design effort that goes into this thing.
I think you had a little more than that.
12 seconds. This thing is cool, all right? It's hefty, which I like. It's adjustable here. These uprights, turn little knobs. This bar slides up and down. Now, on the bottom of this, it is a rubber gasketed material. What that does is it will not scratch your track system. Plus, it adds a little bit of security. When you're putting the weight of your hand or your arm or a tool when you're turning something, that rubber gasket, it's not going to glue it down, but it certainly helps it from sliding and getting, you know, a little too rowdy when you don't want it to. Now, here we've got our knobs that you can see slide in and out, right? The reason that they slide in and out, there's T-bolts on here with springs, okay? T-bolts on here with springs, right? You can see those T-bolts under there, and you can see how they will slide up and down. The reason for that is this unit will pivot like this on the track. So you can slide it when it's upright like this. You can slide it towards your build, away from your build, or you can pivot it like this. So that makes it to where your hand, your brush, or your tool is always in position from CRB Pro. So, ready to do this, Mr. Hunter Man?
Let's do it. So what are you going to finish on this?
I don't know which one. No, because I'm going to do, let's do the flame deal. We've talked so much about what to do. I'm going to show you what not to do here real quick. What do you think about, whoa! All right, what do you think about that?
Yep, so I got a little bit of finish there. I got some more on
Got a bunch of bubbles in there for me?
Oh yeah, of course.
Sweet. All right. All right, got her locked down. I've got a white rod blank here. I'm going to put it in our chuck. And we're going to put some finish on this bad boy here.
All right, you are all set.
All right. I'll have to let you drive this thing over here.
I put as many bubbles as I could in here for you.
Perfect. That's what we got one of these for. All right. Now remember, if you add heat to finish that has already been mixed, you're shortening its pot life. But since it's live on air, it doesn't really matter because I'm not going to finish this whole rod. I'm just going to... And since Hunter was using the Cuisinart to whip it up, now that, I don't know what we'd ever do without that epoxy mixture. That thing is bad to the bone.
All right.
All right, now,
you want on...
let's talk about setting this thing.
Yeah, you want, because obviously we have a wrap feature and we have a dry feature.
We don't need to put it in 5th gear yet.
You want on wrap?
I want it on wrap because we're going to show that. We need to move this stuff real quick. All right, we need to put our band on the right band. We got it on wrap. Now, when I am putting finish on at a higher speed than your 9 or 18 RPM that you see on your rod dryer, there's 2 ways to adjust this unit, all right? The pedal is a variable speed pedal, which means you can turn this thing all the way up and you got to like learn how to feather your foot. So like I got it all the way up, the dial's reading 120, which is max power. And now I can vary this with my foot, all right? I don't do it like that. The reason I don't do it like that is because maybe you got trouble walking and chewing gum at the same time, okay? We've all been there, right? So what I want to do is I want to set this thing to the speed that I want it to be when I got this pedal pushed all the way to the floor. So that way, I don't have to worry about feathering the pedal or anything like that. So what I'm going to do is I got the pedal to the metal, and now I'm working the dial. I can turn it up or I can dial it back, okay? Now, on this readout, I'm showing 52. That has nothing to do with RPMs, okay? What we've got is hand tool rest here. We got a blank spinning, I got finish. I'm going to put some finish on the brush. We're going to put some on. In literally the blink of an eye, I can lay a super sharp edge using the tool rest. We can lock it down, right? Super sharp edges, okay? Now, if we wanted to lay this, we got a stretch here, a decorative wrap. I'm actually going to reach down and pull out a sable brush, okay? The reason I'm going to do that is I can cover more surface area much quicker. I'm going to lay it at an angle so you can see it go on there like that. and I'm going to walk it down the blank. Okay? I still got this pedal to the floor. If I want to speed it up, I just reach over the dial, add a little more to it, or back it off a little. I'm going to load the brush again. This is the direction I'm going. Okay? That's the direction I'm going. The brush is going to, oh yeah, I'm already getting finished on the handed tool rest. All right. So that's the way I'm going to angle that brush, right? And you can see I'm kind of pushing it down that direction. Okay? Now because I added a little heat to it, we are kicking, which is good. Stand by. Did you give me a, you did. The dreaded alcohol burner.
Pro tip, use a little heat to thin out your epoxy.
Yeah, you can add a little heat and thin it out, put the lid on it, and come back. Now, if you want to, with this, and you're covering a large surface area, see if I can do this and make a big mess tonight.
Whoa! Look at that. Oh.
All right. Come back. We'll smooth this out a little. You notice the alcohol burner does not leave anything in the finish. But
what not to do?
Don't do this. This is a Bic lighter. See it ruining the finish? Now keep in mind, this is not burning the finish. This is soot. So see when you light a Bic lighter and it smokes? Unless you want this effect, don't do this. Because that finish is just like a sponge and it'll soak that up.
And you're not getting that out unless you take all that off.
You got to take it all off. So, don't use this. Okay? The only time you use this is to light your alcohol burner. But it's nice and smooth. It's just like burnt toast. So whatever decorative wrap you want to add a burnt toast look to, there it is. Now, the best part about this is, if we have put all of our finish on, all the way down the whole deal, let go of the pedal, switch, move your band, and now we're turning at 9. Is this a 9?
9 to 10 RPM.
Okay. Yep. So now we're good. And then you can just walk away. So, yep. That is how I would go about going down the whole rod blank here, using Pro G2, but not using a Bic lighter.
Yeah, no Bic lighters for rod building.
No.
And like you said, unless you're going to light your alcohol lamp or your burner. But other than that, no Bic lighters. Now, if you're doing black wraps, then I'm
still not doing it.
Still not doing it.
Yeah.
But you wouldn't have much to worry about there. But still, just stay away. It's kind of like super glue in rod building. Just don't do it. You don't need it.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Sean said I need to break out the blowtorch. I know. You have to get me one, Sean. We'll do it. Yeah, that is kind of here's how you do it, and not do it. And yes, exactly, David, earlier when I had said the 120 on the readout does not equal RPMs, just
Correct.
like 50 or 54, any of that stuff. That is a voltage readout. You're exactly right, David. Thank you for saying that. I think that, I know I said that it's not RPMs, but I don't think that I said it was voltage, so.
Yep. And
thank you for that.
For you guys that did buy the G2, check out your instruction sheet, because that will, on the back, we do have a table that will list certain voltage readouts equate to, which bands you're using, and then eventually you'll get to what an estimated RPM range that works out to be.
Jared, you can reuse the sable brushes. We actually have there is a brush cleaner, and then also some folks will just use, their rubbing alcohol and whatnot. Do we not have the little alcohol guys with the clear push button tops? I was just like, oh, this guy.
Use that one?
Yep. I got some alcohol on me. Let's see. This one here is one we get a ton. All right, Justice. Novice question, but on my first build, I had one wrap finish turn out tacky, even after days of drying. Why would that happen, and what could I have done to fix it? So, if you have done an entire rod blank, and you only had one wrap that did it, it could very well be from the finish was not fully mixed. And I know that it feels like at times when you're mixing the steel that you got it completely mixed perfectly. But if you did not, and it only showed itself on one guide wrap, it could be that there was just that one little part of finish in there that it wasn't fully mixed, and you pulled from a little portion of the cup that wasn't fully mixed, and it went over that guide wrap, but then all the other ones were good to go. It happens. Sometimes it's the whole rod, sometimes it's 2 or 3 guide wraps. It happens. The best news is you can go back at any time, remix a small batch of epoxy, mix it until you can't mix it anymore, and then put an ultra thin coat over that one wrap that's tacky, and it'll fix it. You'll be good to go. So, no reason to fret. That's the way to fix that. I know that's a question that so many of us have when we're finishing, if we get a little bit of tacky finish. That's why I think this one happens. Sometimes if the whole rod is tacky, it can either be too cold, you might have not mixed the whole batch, you might have not measured the whole batch properly. But in this case, I've got a good feeling that it just wasn't mixed completely.
Yep.
So, yep. Let me jump in here real quick because there's like 26 of them. Scott D, the ideal temperature to get the best finish. You want to be in that a little above room temperature kind of vibe. You start to get down into the 60s, you're going to start having a problem. There's a perfect thermometer gauge over there, and we've got it, from 70 to 80. You start to get into that 60s and stuff. That's too cold. So we want to get away from that. The Banginator is watching from the break room at Lowe's. Better watch out. There might be a cleanup on aisle 7 that you got to take care of. We got Elmo, greetings from the emergency room in Dallas.
Yikes.
Hopefully it's a slow night in the ER in Dallas. And then Tim said, I was at Mudhole from Michigan in early January. Even his wife was impressed. So we've got something for everybody, even the ladies. Let's see. Brent, we kind of mentioned earlier, right time to use high build over regular Pro Coat. I'm using high build marbling, offshore builds, things like that. Regular Pro Coats, pretty much whenever. This is not to say that you cannot use regular Pro Coat on an offshore build or decorative or marbling, but some of the decorative stuff it's a little easier to do with the high build, honestly. And that's, Dan, there's your question there. High build on your, it says modeling, but I got a pretty good idea that that's autocorrect and you meant marbling. Hunter, this is you. Tim, what is the product with marbling to make it stringy? Do you remember that?
So yeah, that's going to be Flex Coat color preserver, specifically.
It's got to be this one.
Flex Coat color preserver.
This
Has
one.
to be.
Can't be Pro Seal.
Nope.
Can't be whatever the other ones are. It's got to be this one.
Got to be this one. It's for some reason this one, the chemical makeup, whatever they use, is a little bit different than most other color preservers. This one will do the trick. It's check out some of our past Facebook Live or Mud Hole Live.
Yep, and I'm sure we'll do a little more. I'm sure we'll do a little marble vibe here. This is a good one, Hunter. You need to touch on this one. Had some epoxy in the bottle, get a little yellowish tint over the 6 month. Will it affect the finish? Trying to decide if I should toss it or use it.
Well, first of all, anytime you have or you think you have an issue with thread finish, do a test batch. Most of the time, if it does yellow, which is completely normal, all epoxies over time will yellow. Specifically, the hardener side of that will yellow over time. So that's completely normal. Typically, when you mix that hardener with the resin, it's going to come out completely clear. Even if it has a little bit of a yellow tint to it, it will mix up and be clear. And then obviously, when that translates to your thread wrap, it's obviously also going to be clear. So what I would recommend is just do a test batch. Use a piece of scrap blank. Mix up a small batch, test it out. And if it dries clear and dries hard, then you're good to go.
Yep.
If it doesn't for any reason do both of those, then scrap it and just buy some new finish.
Yep. Real quick, we'll talk about this one. What's the best way to color protect nylon thread? Color preserver, you can use Pro Seal. You can use the Flex Coat color preserver and stuff like that. It really depends on what you're wanting to do with it. If you do want to just hold that same color, then yes. You really got no other choice than to use color preserver. But don't feel like you have to use color preserver. I like the look of regular nylon thread getting a little like translucent kind of deal. So there's been a couple questions here about using a respirator when applying epoxy. If I am applying epoxy to a full rod, whether I'm doing a big build, a small build, whatever, I do like wearing a respirator. Anytime you're working with chemicals, they're chemicals. So, especially if you're working in large batches. We're putting our life on the lines for you guys tonight in Mud Hole here. Not doing it, but it's a good practice to wear a respirator if you are going to be putting a lot of finish on a lot of fishing rods. So, not a bad idea. Not a bad idea. All right. What else we got? Where are we going now?
Let's do.
You want to do the cutaway?
Let's do Bill Faulkner's cutaway. So this is a very informative and then kind of a different approach to applying finish that we typically don't touch on. So his method involves a little bit of using a spatula versus a brush. So a cool technique to do. And for those of you who do not know, Bill Faulkner, he's been building rods for a long time, and recently took over Angler's Resource, which is the Fuji distributor here in the United States. So Bill's a great guy, amazing rod builder, great fisherman. So we got a little cutaway for y'all to check this out. And then when we get back, I think we should do a little giveaway. So make sure you stick around. So let's run that. What you got, Bill?
So this is kind of like you've probably seen it done. I think the only thing that I'm doing any differently is that I'm using a spatula instead of a brush to apply it. You could do this under power. I personally think you get a lot more control with the first coat and the second coat for guides doing it by hand. So I'm going to do the whole thing with the spatula by hand. You want to start from the tip of the guide foot and work towards the guide ring. So since these are all single foot guides, I'm always going to start on this side and work to this side toward the guide ring. If they were double foot guides, I would start on the outside of the wraps, again at the foot, and work towards the guide foot, just for reference. And the reason why we do that is that helps to force air out of the tunnel that's created between by the thread between the guide foot and the blank, right here where it sort of leaves the blank to cross over the guide foot. So if we start at the tip or the foot of the guide and work towards the ring, it naturally is going to push that air out. So I'm just gonna load up this spatula with a lot of finish, and it doesn't wanna stay on there very well. I don't know if you noticed this, but some dripped off, but I've gotten in the habit, you see that, of putting the cup right under the guide wrap on my wrapper or on my bench, so that when it falls right into the cup, and I don't make a big mess. Now, you see I've got a lot of finish, and on this first coat, there's lots of ways to do this. This is just what yields very good results for me. I'm not going off of the thread onto the blank. I'm only putting finish on the thread. But I do want to make sure I absolutely saturate the wrap, and there's plenty to fill the void next to the guide foot or in that guide foot tunnel. But I'm going just to the edge of the wrap, and I have a lot of control and precision with this spatula to put it exactly where I want, okay? And now I'm gonna leave that wrap like that. And if we watch it for a second, if I'll leave it here without turning it, it's gonna sag. You see that? There's enough finish on there that would drip off if I let it. I'm not gonna let it. I'm gonna keep turning it. First, I'm gonna apply some gentle heat. And I mean, this is not much. It's just a Bic lighter. I'm a ways from the guide, and I'm literally just gonna apply enough heat so that it wants to sag. And remember, this is this blank is probably close to 3/8 of an inch, certainly 5/16 or larger. I would use less heat with an even smaller guide at the very small tip section of a blank. You can melt a blank. You can delaminate a blank. I'm not using that much heat. It's always moving. It never stops on the wrap, and it's never so close that the flame comes anywhere near touching it. I get people asking me all the time, they say, are you getting soot on your wraps? I'm getting soot on the wraps. Don't touch the flame to the wrap. It can't do that if you don't get that close. I'm warming it until I see that finish begin to react, and you will see it start to sag a little more quickly. And that's all you need to do. Just enough heat to get it to behave differently, and you're where you want to be. Checking our guide foot, that one looks great. We got all the bubbles out. So I'm gonna warm it gently one more time, and I'll do this with every wrap. And you have your cup under there just in case you need it, and I'm watching this one. This one's wanting to sag on me. That's okay. We'll come back and get more of that in a second. I'm gonna just remove a little with the spatula. We'll do our final in a second. I'm just gonna use the spatula and lift it off, and I'm just literally kind of touching it to there and pulling back towards me in kind of a gentle swiping motion. I don't have to get too much off, and now if I'll turn around and let it hang guides down, it's gonna level out a little bit. And that's it. Now we're gonna leave it alone.
All right, good stuff there. And as you guys saw, make sure you check out the full video on our YouTube page. Get the full rundown of Bill's spatula technique and how to apply finish. But back to the regular program. So
yeah, back to us. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry. So we're gonna do what? Giveaway 2 of the night.
Yeah, you want to do a giveaway?
Second prize,
right?
Which I think is a ProProducts, basic workshop supply kit, and then we're gonna throw in the DCRDS Gen 2 variable speed dryer. This guy has the clutch, or not the clutch, excuse me. We'll get to the clutch in a minute. The wire chuck comes pre-installed here. This is a 15 to 45 RPM, which makes it great for finishing at a little bit higher speed. Then you can back that down for it to actually, finish out the drying time there. So let's get a winner for the second place prize of the night. We got Eric Vergara, Jr.
Junior. All right, coming out of Facebook. Nice. Spreading it around a little. Congratulations, Eric. Again, live at mudhole.com. That's how we'll get you and get it to you. Real quick, I'm going to talk about this. This is a great question here coming out of Facebook, Ron Cooper. I put some epoxy on something so I can touch it later. or check it in the cup to see if it's completely cured. That is a great point. We always, always, always leave our mixing cup, the foil dish. We're always leaving that out on the table somewhere where we do not have to put our grimy little fingers on our beautiful rod finish, okay? That way we can touch it in that cup and go, perfect, it's done. Or we go, uh-oh, we had a problem, or uh-oh, we got to wait a little longer. Yep. So that is that. Thank you, Ron. Appreciate it. All right. Hunter's got me a little finish mixed here. I want to talk to you about the dryer with the clutch. It's a personal favorite of mine, and I'm going to show you why. Anytime you're messing around with double-footed guides, whether it's a stripping guide on a fly rod or big roller guides and different things like that, you're going to have an instance where you're going to have to work around guides and underneath the braces without banging into the braces, and you just got to be careful. The clutch allows you to start and stop this rod blank while it's turning. If it was me, I typically apply finish, a very, very thin coat, to my under wrap, which is underneath here. I didn't do that mainly because I didn't wrap this guide. This is what we call the mullet wrap. It actually matches Jake's hair, and he wrapped it. So this is actually Pro Wrap thread. This is not hair from his mullet, but it sure looks like it. So this is the official mullet thread wrap that he did for us to put finish on tonight. So I have the clutch on the regular RDS. This is the dryer that started it all. It's is it a 9?
It is a 9, yep.
So this is a 9. I actually think I saw somebody ask about should we do a 9 or an 18. Honestly, you need to learn to do both, and then get you the power wrapper and learn to do it at like 200 or 250. So I would venture to say that the slower the dryer is turning, you might show a little handshake there. You know, it kind of, if you've got handshakes, or if you have to try to put it in an awkward angle, having a slower dryer might show a little bit more on an edge, but it might be slow enough to where you can get it in a tight spot. So I'm going to go ahead and shut up, and I'm going to show you what we're talking about here. Because we've got our wings getting cold in the other room. I know we got, shoot, there might be somebody on the OR table in Dallas waiting on surgery while we're learning how to do finish. All right. We had to do boneless wings tonight because Jake can't eat them with the bone in them, so we had to get that. No, I'm kidding. All right. Finishing a foil dish. The one key thing here, this dryer motor is reversible. We've talked about that. But if you grab the chuck, it spins like it's supposed to. You have to grab the clutch back here behind it to alternate the direction. All right? So now we are going to apply finish. I like the finish. I like to apply it with the rod turning towards me. It's just how I learned and how I got comfortable. I'm going to start close to the gaps here. And I'm going to add a little bit. Not too much, because I'm going to use this thread finish to push air out from under the guide foot wrap, right? So I'll add some finish. And then if you have a hair dryer or a blow dryer, a torch, an alcohol burner, I will actually take and lightly flame this finish. What that is going to do is that will actually briefly thin the finish. The thread will kind of sponge it up, and you will actually watch the finish. Always put the cap back. you will watch the finish sponge and soak up under all of this thread wrapping, and I'm going to show you here, since I can stop it. Of course I would lose that in the track. That's perfect. What on earth? All right. So now that I add a little heat to it, it's actually going to wick up this guide foot, and there's a little gap here. It's going to wick up this guide foot, and what that does is that's going to actually force the air out from the tunnels that are created on either side of the guide foot. What that's going to do is that's going to be sure that the air doesn't work its way out later into bubbles in your finish, okay? Especially when you've got multiple layers of thread on this mullet wrap, okay? So you've got to be careful to be sure that your finish is getting down into your thread wraps. Because again, if you don't penetrate all of that thread, you're going to end up with bubbles. So you can see we've got it all on here, and it's coming out of the guide foot on each side of the foot here. It's kind of worked its way up that tunnel, and then it's kind of poking out, the finishes. So what that's going to do is that's going to show you that, okay, I've got good finish coverage around that foot, and it's not going to cause a problem. And then we're going to go back to now applying finish in and around the foot. This is where the clutch comes in, right? Because now I can actually rotate it this way, rotate it that way, let it spin a little, work the finish down off of those thread wraps so that it's going to look like it's all one piece here. Stop it. You can work your brush all under here. And remember, we have to do the same thing on this side too with this foot. We're going to put finish down on the edge of the foot and work our way up, and then we're going to add heat. And that's going to help soak that finish up. What do they say? It's just so exciting. It's like watching epoxy dry.
Yeah, it's something like that. Yeah,
That
that's close enough.
That's what they say, right?
I'm not sure if epoxy might be better or worse at paint. I don't know.
I hate painting though.
Painting sucks.
Like, I'm not a big painting guy. All right. So that's working its way up the foot. So I'm going to now transition that finish down. Now, if you do apply finish to your underwrap, you don't have to be quite as touchy because your underwrap will already have finish on it. So you don't have to pay kind of as much attention as I am right now. But I've got to make sure that I'm putting the right amount of finish, plus I'm getting the finish on the underwrap. Plus, I'm not getting too much everywhere that will work its way up the braces.
I think that's probably one of the best tips you can give with epoxy or finish. I know you kind of use those interchangeably sometimes, but is not applying too much. You start with small little amounts like you have. You probably put what, three or four times you've actually put epoxy on the wrap.
Yeah.
And then most of the other part of the time you spent moving it around, kind of letting it level itself, adding heat, leveling it more. The trick there is definitely, if you put too much on, then you're going to get too carried away. You got epoxy everywhere. You're going to start making a mess. You get frustrated.
I would much rather have not enough epoxy on a guide wrap. Like if I woke up the next morning after putting thread finish on here, I would much rather go, oh man, I gotta I need to put one more light coat. I would much rather have to do that than go, oh no, I've got a mess. And that's how like footballs are created and fish eyes and all that, all those terms that you hear in rod building. That's how a lot of that is created, because you're either rushing it and want to put too much epoxy, or you just don't know. And you're like, oh no, that looks like enough. And you're like, yeah, that's about 4 times as much as you need to put on there. So now I'm going to kind of stack it on here, because I don't have to be nearly as cautious as you do when you are around the foot. And I got to finish this out, and then we'll move on.
What's great about this clutch is, that motor still continuously turns. Even if you hold that rod blank and stop the chuck, the rod dryer is still going. So at any point you can release, and it's going to keep on turning.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about flipping a switch, right?
Yep.
You're like, oh, I let it go, but I forgot to turn it back on. Okay, now we'll do this really quick. If you put too much finish on here, you can like sort of let the finish tell you how much needs to be on there, and I'll show you what I'm talking about here in a second. Yeah, you know what's about to go down. So I've probably put too much finish on here. And you can tell it looks all kind of cattywampus, right? So you can come in with your heat, whatever you want to use. And you start applying your heat. And you're like, oh, that's cool. It's leveling out. The bubbles are coming out. And you're starting to get that drip, right? That is excess epoxy coming off of there. And that's kind of the finish sort of telling you that, hey, you put too much on here, and we're gonna exit stage right and get this thing leveled out to where it needs to be. And then you just kind of have to look at it, kind of pay attention to how much needs to be on there. Boy, that's a long wick tonight, I tell you what. So that looks pretty good. Not bad for putting finish over mullet hair, right? Still got a little bit of a hang there. Cool. All right. Now, one more tip. After you're done, you've done all of it, and you walk away to go get you another beer or another chicken wing or go help put the kids to bed or something like that. Never, ever, ever, ever walk away from just putting that last little finish on, put it down and walk away and go to bed or go do something else. Set an alarm on your phone or whatever for like 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and come back. Then give it another look over, because you might have missed something. Finish maybe got out of whack a little, something maybe crept up something. If you had a spinning rod down here where the nut was coming undone and you didn't notice it and it's working its way loose, it's going to get in your finish. Never just apply finish and put your brush down and walk away for 8 hours, because you could come back to some stuff that you don't want to come back to. So that's just another tip. So cool.
Cool. Last thing I want to touch on is a few more things regarding contamination.
Yes.
And then we'll do some questions real quick.
Mm-hmm.
And as you mentioned,
I might need to make you. Do I need to make you some other epoxy while you're talking there?
No.
Oh,
I'm good.
okay.
I'm good. I'm just going to kind of touch on the don'ts of. So like you mentioned the chicken wing thing.
Mm-hmm.
So when you go to apply finish, and this is kind of goes for whether you're wrapping guides, applying finish, whatever it may be with rod building, always make sure you wash your hands first.
Yes.
And I know that's such a silly thing to say, but the grease on your fingers from either food, whatever it might be, you touch your rod blank, especially in the area where you're going to put that guide wrap. And if that doesn't get wiped off and that grease or whatever it might be stays on there, that could lead to a contamination issue down the road. It could be a fisheye, it could be your epoxy not leveling correctly. so many things lead result from contamination, whether it's grease or whatever it might be. So always make sure you wash your hands before you go back to your rod building bench. Another thing too we see often is, if you wrap the guides on your rod, set it in the corner for a week or two and come back to it, make sure you always take like a tack cloth, or you can even take like an unused brush. And for instance, like if this is my guide wrap right here, make sure you go back and take a brush, or like I said, the tack cloth works great, and just brush that guide wrap. That's going to get a lot of the lint, pet hair, whatever it might be, off of that guide, that thread wrap, to where when you go to apply epoxy, that's not going to be there. Because again, that's another contamination issue that we see so many times is again, pet hair, lint, some of that stuff that you might not even be able to see is going to affect not only your thread wrap, but also your finish down the line. So make sure if you do set something to the side for a little while, clean it up before you actually apply finish. And that goes for decorative wraps, guide wraps, you name it with thread. Make sure it's clean before you apply finish. I think that was it.
Cool. I'm going to touch on a couple here real quick.
Sure.
All right. Eli, so would you normally epoxy under wrap, let it dry, then wrap the guide? I do.
Yeah.
Not everybody does, and it's not a right or a wrong way. I do it for a couple reasons. One, it allows me to not have to pay attention to the thread size, because technically you want to do either the thread wraps as an under wrap and an over wrap, either in the same size thread, or you want the under wrap to be a thinner diameter like size A and an over wrap be size D. If they're reversed and you have size D as an under wrap and A as an over wrap, and you don't epoxy the under wrap, the thread will dig in. So with size D being thicker, if A comes over the top, it will dig in and go in between, and it's just going to be a mess. I mean, it's not like it's going to be unfishable or whatever. It's just going to look bad. So I just epoxy it because I think I can get a cleaner, leveler finish if I underwrap everything, put finish on everything, and then come back and wrap over it. I can wrap it a little quicker. I can do things like that without having to worry about, did I just mess up the underwrap thread at all. Alex, how long can I wait before applying a second coat of finish? I like it to be cured out. That could be, 10 hours, 24 hours. I've come back in 2 weeks and cleaned the guide wrap and put finish on, and it's been fine. So don't worry about like, oh, you only have this window between 8 hours and 24 hours and you can never do it again. So don't worry about that. That's not the case. But it does need to be fairly cured out. It doesn't need to be fully fishable cure, because remember, like we've said, if the finish is a little tacky because you didn't mix it correctly, you can put some finish over the top of that and fix that. So again, it doesn't have to be 24 hours fully cured out, but that's... can you explain the process of trimming off tags and fuzzies sticking up after the first coat? What I do, Steve, is I take a razor blade, I put it in my wrapper, and I shave the fuzzy out. You don't have to go down to the rod blank. Just take it and shave that fuzzy out and then come back over with a super skim coat of finish. You can do that if you get like a bubble in there and it's like a crater. You can come back in and cut it out, add finish, and it'll disappear. When you're working with it and you're cutting it, and if you're putting fingerprints and stuff all over where you're going to put finish back over, wipe it off. That's just going to help, as Hunter said, keep you from contaminating and getting fish eyes and stuff like that. So, yeah, that's... This is a good question because I'm a cigar guy. What about using a turbo lighter for cigars? You can. You just got to be careful because it comes out hot. It comes out like a blowtorch. So, because that's what it is. It's a torch. That is one of those, I saw some of the guys mentioning that I let the flame from my alcohol burner, it looked like it was touching the finish or touching the rod blank. Yes, that is the case. If you let a blowtorch or a turbo lighter like that touch it, it's bad because it comes out at thousands of degrees. So just be careful of that. Also, sometimes it might look like I'm really getting into the finish with this, but the flame is behind it. So it's actually like kind of radiating towards it a little bit. You can control the heat by either going underneath it completely, because that heat is more intense than if you just slid the lighter or the alcohol burner next to the rod. This is going to be a hotter flame than this sideways like that. So if you go straight down under it and you got a giant flame, you can damage something. So that's why I kind of also stay to the side a little bit at times, because I'm behind it. So, yep. All right. I will touch on this, Doc Time. Any issues of epoxy up against a silicone winding check? If you put finish up to the silicone winding check, you're going to be fine. If you put finish over the top of a silicone winding check, that silicone winding check, silicone in general, and rod finish do not mix. That's why, surprisingly, we have specific syringes that we use for drawing finish out of the bottle, because there are a number of syringes out there in the world that have a food grade silicone lubricant in them. Silicone and finish don't mix ever. With that being said, though, you can run finish up to the silicone winding check. If you go over the top of it, it's a no-no. But you can butt it right up to it like you would any other winding check, and you'll be fine. Cool. All right. What else we got? You good?
Yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah. All right. Are we going to do rapid fire here real quick, or are we running a little late? It's already an hour and 17 minutes.
So you answer some questions.
I tried to answer as many as I could.
Good.
All right.
Grand prize of the night.
Let's go ahead and do the grand prize. Sorry we drug a little late, but finish is a big topic. We could do these often. All right. So we're going to do the grand prize giveaway. We appreciate you guys sticking with us here. It's going to be the MHX HD rod rack. You saw me Vanna White that thing earlier. It is bad to the bone. And yeah, let's do the grand prize. Uncle Phil, go ahead and draw that thing up.
Let's see who we got tonight. Grand prize winner. Dun, 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 dun. Tim Morrison. Is that on YouTube?
Tim Morrison. Coming out of YouTube.
YouTube winner. There we go.
I wonder if he was the one who asked. That would be wild.
It would be.
I know somebody asked. So congratulations.
Yay.
Awesome. I'm going to go through here really, really quick just to make sure. Again, Tim, send me an email live@mudhole.com to claim that. Do you like alcohol versus a heat gun? Both of them work great. Mm-hmm. Some people don't like this little guy here. I know people that say it's dangerous. I actually don't usually fill mine all the way up. I actually fill just what I'm going to use, just a tiny little bit, so, but also, we have razor blades and fishing hooks that can poke you too, so you got to be careful with those, you got to be careful with that. I think that's it. I wanted to get that one. Pro coat, does it need 2 coats? All epoxies are the same. You can technically get away with 1 coat, but you can run 2 coats. I think a lot of people prefer, I wouldn't say that. I know a number of people prefer doing 2 coats because they can put a really light first coat, then they can put another really light coat, and it keeps them out of trouble. Okay? Awesome. Well, everybody, thank you so much. We appreciate all the kind words. Thank you for sticking around with us. We had over 600 viewers tonight for the first one of the big year. It is a fresh new coat. It's a great feeling to be here in 2023. And we appreciate everybody that watches. So, we gave away some great prizes.
Yep.
We thank the viewers. Over 600 people. Everybody should be very, very proud to join us tonight. We had people in Lowe's. We had people in an ER. We might even have had a pilot. Who knows? Somebody could have been up.
Might be flying right now.
That's it. Might be on an A380. Might be a big Airbus out there. Some guy's got his core hand wrapper right there in the pilot seat. He might be repairing something.
Coming soon.
That's it. That's why I said that. Exactly. Maybe he's got a travel rod. He's going somewhere fun. Also, congratulations to the photo contest winners. Run over there in the Mudhole Live Rod Builders Workshop. You will see the poll. You can click on there and, show them some love. Now, next show topic.
Tiger wraps.
Tiger wraps. That's always a fun one. Gotta love the decorative stuff. We're going to be taming tiger wraps.
Love it. Yeah.
And you know what? That's episode 95, Uncle Phil, not episode 94. He was celebrating too early. That's really more of him trying to catch me not paying attention than him making a mistake. Let's be honest. So if you have seen anything that you like that we've used on the show tonight, run over to mudhole.com. We have all of the links, products that we used on the show, from power wrappers to hand and tool rest, dryer with a clutch, all of that stuff. It is on mudhole.com. Of course, the classes are on there as well. Remember, advanced seminar, $40. I'm telling you, I have wasted $40 in a number of different places that I wish I could just use on that. So anyway, we had Sean in there tonight. I know, was Birdman in the war room? I know we had Birdman in the war room. Steve was here. Jake is walking around doing something on TikTok.
TikToking.
We had Uncle Phil on the ones and twos. Of course, Cool Man on the Zoom. Hunter McCamey, my left-hand man, as always. Thank you for being here for 94 episodes.
Always.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Guys, I'm Chris Adams. Thank you for joining me. Episode 95 coming next month for Tiger Wraps.
Yep.
We'll see y'all next time.
Thanks for watching.
Take care.